Good evening, Vananda. We welcome you all. To the International Symposium on Research and Publications of Environment, Health, Well-being and Sustainable Development 2020. Commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 75 years of independence. India's G20 presidency, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns, and on occasion of World Health Week and World Health Month 2020, with the theme Health for All, in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute and Center for Art, Sciences and Well-being. So before we start our session, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions. Today, we'll be looking at research in social sciences, or more specifically, research in social work. This is also very much related to other disciplines. It can be replicated in other social sciences and as well as other disciplines as well. So how do we go about sociological aspects of research? You know, social sciences deals with society, individuals, and a collective behavior, individual behavior, and various other aspects. And yesterday and day before yesterday, we were looking at various aspects of health, includes social health. One of the domains of health, which includes social health. So it is also very much required that we need to conduct research in social sciences. So today we will look at a few aspects of research in social sciences. How do we conduct a scientific inquiry or scientific research in social? So let's start exploring. So why we need a scientific research or scientific inquiry in social sciences? To find out various factors. For example, let's take poverty. Whether poverty exists, if it exists, to what extent, whether there is a significant difference among the poverty and rich, And among the poverty population, is there any significant difference or not? And why it exists? And how does it exist? In what ways it exists? And what kind of attitudes, perceptions they carry and is contributing to poverty, and various other aspects. These aspects can be at individual level, at a community level, at a society level, at a state level, national level, and can also be international level. And what is the difficulty? As we have been discussing, collection of data is very important to analyze. How do we know actually poverty exists? We need to have some data of the population so that we can analyze and interpret the socio-economic status of people, of the population, and then come to a consensus whether poverty exists or not. If it exists, how much of poverty it exists, and at what level the poverty exists. So let's explore it further. And as we have mentioned, there might be stigma also associated. It gives a lot of perceptions, attitudes, contributes to unreporting or reporting, saying that I am poor or I am not poor at the time of collection of data. So when we go to the ground level, if you ask, what is your socioeconomic status? So what is the response you might get? The response can vary. If you, based on your income status, if you say in which category you fall, what may be your response? Or if given an option to rate among poor, low income, middle income, high income, among these four, which one you would like to rate yourself based on your socioeconomic status? So if this is a query, what would be the expected answer? So it varies from person to person, family to family, based on their socioeconomic conditions in various aspects like income, expenditure, financial status, and their occupation, their revenue generation from other sources. So various aspects are included. So here, there are various other aspects that are impacting the data collection as well. As in many research, we also have such extraneous variables or factors that are impacting the research. So here, there may be stigma associated, though they fall under poverty line or below poverty line. They may not reveal that, and they may say, no, we are falling under low income or we may fall under middle income, or we may belong to high income. Again, it varies on individual to individual, though there might be a basic criteria. Say, if you have income less than 1 lakh per annum, so you are under poverty. Assuming this may not be the exact criteria for determining poverty, but let's say, for example, assuming below 1 lakh income per annum, assuming that it falls under the category of poverty, and above 1 lakh to 2 lakhs, low income, and 2 to 4 lakhs, middle income, and 4 to 6 lakhs, high income, and above 6 lakhs, very high income. If we have this Likert scale, or maybe any rating scale, if we have these 5 options and ask the population to rate under which category you fall based on your income, so they will be rating according. But it may not be always true. Some may underrate themselves to get more benefits. Few may overrate themselves, as certain stigmas are associated. They may don't want themselves to be associated with a higher or a lower income strata. So they may underrate or overrate themselves. So there are different possibilities. These are different possibilities that can happen. And there are certain beliefs also associated over time, and anti-poverty stigma. And also there might be such an errors also. How do we report? How do we verify? It's purely based on the responses of the participant. So we go collect the data from the entire population, or we derive a sample using various sampling methods or techniques. Just say, assuming taking random sampling where everyone gets equal opportunity to participate, which is a true representation of the entire of the population or the universe, whatever terminology based on the discipline we are into. We are having a sample which is a true representative of the entire universe or population, from which we are collecting the data. Now, as a social worker or as a surveyor, what are the things we need to know or to be considered when collecting data through responses, through direct and indirect observations? How do cognitive biases inform or form our perceptions of poverty? People in poverty and the programs we use or the policies we have to address poverty, and how we might apply them to an area of social sciences or social work that you are interested. So you may belong to economics or you may belong to other area as well. So whichever area or whichever discipline you are concerned with. So we need to have certain sources of knowledge to verify, like institution, what our institution says about the context, about the situation, what we are observing and what we are recording. And there are other sources like direct experience. When we interact with the people, we can know. Of course, here also there are certain limitations. We might be poor in language, we might be poor in infrastructure, or we might be poor in expression, we might be poor in different aspects. Now, does that mean that we are poor or we are not poor? That can also influence. And the experience we have over a period of time. From childhood, we have been exposed to various strata levels of people, where even we also might belong to some category, or we may also over a period of time shift from one category to other category. So we know at least one category of which we belong to, and also our lower and upper categories. So similarly, if you belong to a lower class, low income, then you might be aware of poverty and middle income, or even at times high income. So similarly with other category levels. So that will help us, in rating, in collecting that data. And also we need a proper research method technique to conduct the scientific inquiry. And finally, we need to have the theory of poverty. Who is poor? How do we define poor? And what is the criteria through which we decide who is poor and who is not? So all these we need to have a basic theory through which, or a science which defines poverty, its scope, its limitations, its nature, its characteristics, and other aspects of poverty. And as we have already mentioned, there may be the researcher or the social worker or the surveyor can also have lot of prejudices, lot of stigmas, attitudes, biases towards the population or sample because of his own sources of knowledge, like institution, direct experience, and his existing knowledge and wisdom, and the kind of research methods, and based on the theoretical knowledge he has. There might be possibility of cognitive biases, confirmation bias, prejudices, or sometimes undergeneralization or overgeneralization, or sometimes we can also become selective. Selective observation can also happen, ignoring one or more aspects or undermining one or more aspects. And various other effects that can interfere in having or in coming to a perception or framing or forming our perception towards poverty. So based on that, we may rate also. See, one response is we are taking their response, which is subjective response or might be an objective response of the responder, whether they belong to a particular category. They themselves rate themselves based on their understanding and based on the given criteria. As we mentioned the criteria clearly, saying that if you have so and so income levels, if you fall in between these income levels, so you belong to these categories. So we might verify using their income records, if any. If they are paying income tax, we can verify it from that. And those who do not have any records, or just by their oral confirmation or other aspects, we can say that we can take their subjective or objective opinion of which category they belong. And the other way is, and there are different methods of collection. Here, both we are taking the response from the respondent. At the same time, we are also, through our observation, through our sources of knowledge, we are also trying to gather information. Whether, okay, they may rate themselves as low income, middle income, or high income. So based on our observation, what we think, in which category they fall into. Maybe they are owning a car, they are owning a duplex bungalow, or a very good bungalow. They are owning a car, and they may rate as we are living in under poverty, or they may themselves rate as low income, or they may rate themselves of middle income or high income. So there may be differences or variations on what their responses and our observations. So based on that, or we may also at times by looking at various aspects. See, not everyone who has so much of wealth or income show off. That they have a different kind of investments, or some people they don't have it in material aspect, they may have in liquid form, or those who are super rich also can live in a small house or a small dwelling. That can also happen. So one thing is, subjectively we are taking the responders' response, and at the same time we, based on our observation on field, we are also rating what could be the possible category based on our observation. So we have a lot of cognitive biases, as we mentioned. In fact, a lot of biases. We need to avoid these biases, prejudices, which can interfere in our research. As an individual, we may have based on our own experiences. Maybe we belong to certain criteria or community, and we may have soft corner on certain communities or certain individuals based on our prior experiences or beliefs. So, and depending on various factors, we may have prejudices or biases. So we need to select each bias, define it in our own words, and apply and see, verify, and accordingly work on it. And we have another effect known as bandwagon effect. As you know, this is a blanket approach where if everyone is using, then it is also, this can also be applicable to everyone. This kind of generalization, this is also applicable to everyone. Suppose, say, everyone is having, if you rate 10 people having a car and they themselves rating as below poverty level, so you may also generalize it, okay, having a car, still he or she can be under poverty. This can also happen. Of course, there are different ways to explain and explore. I'm just giving due to paucity of time, and there is a lot of challenges. So I'm just explaining one aspect. There are different aspects and it takes a lot of time. It's not so easy research, and this research, doing research is many, even professors also struggle with this due to lack of proper understanding or practice of various aspects. So don't expect everything to be, white and black. So you may not understand many things, or there might be also a better way, but we'll explore in coming days. We can also see different ways of conducting research. So here, there are two factors, that is objectivity, subjectivity. Subjectivity is what we think. Objectivity is what is in reality. Individual's perception, responder's perception. What is real and what we think is real. There are two aspects here. Objectivity is what is real. Subjectivity is what we think, or how we think, or how we know what is real. Objectivity is universal, unbiased truth. Subjectivity can be subject to bias, prejudices, because it's purely based on individual experiences, prior learning, and socially constructed truth. It's the individual understanding. And also based on evidence-based practices, like prior knowledge of the researcher and the client characteristics and resources, environmental context, as we were talking about, how based on our observation, what is the kind of dwelling they are living in, house, hut, or a bungalow, or a duplex house, or an apartment, or row house, and various other observations, the kind of infrastructure they are having, and various other aspects, and how the client or the responder is in his environment, in her environment, the way dressing, and the jewelry or other aspects of additional wearings of different objects on body and different positions, materialistic positions, and all based on the various resources available in the context. Based on all these, we also have subjective and also objective analysis or perception of which category they may belong. So we have to verify, and basically there are two types of research also here. When we talk about objectivity and subjectivity, when we are quantifying the objectivity is, majorly a predefined, where we can, it is constant, it is universal, and it is definite, where we can quantify. And quantitative research can be taken up. When it comes to subjectivity, it is more of qualitative rather than quantitative, because it is the subjective perception, opinion of the individual. It might be also objective, but again, it depends. It may be a realistic understanding if the responder has a realistic understanding of what actually truth is than what he or she feels the truth is. If they both are on the same level, then the response there is no scope for subjective. Then even the subjective response of the responder can also be an objective response in that case. So we can have both qualitative and quantitative, or based on the kind of responses, we can have quantitative or qualitative research based on objective or subjective. And also, it's not about what the literature says. When we have done some literature, review of literature, we have already got an idea of what could be the research and what could be the outcome of research. Here, based on the trends, based on the history, based on the past, we need to have an appropriate approach. And when taking up a research work, we need to understand what are the main problems or challenges and what could be the possible interventions or solutions. How confident that you are at the theoretical aspects and the practical aspects to implement it, and the experience you have in implementing, and what kind of information do you need as a researcher, and where you would reach to collect the information It may be from primary sources, secondary sources. And as already mentioned, how do you implement the selected intervention? And after implementing, after providing intervention, how do you evaluate? How do you monitor and evaluate its effectiveness? So we also take up meta-synthesis, meta-analysis, and various systematic reviews. Now, after considering all these and various other aspects, so we might choose the appropriate topic, research problem. We just have taken an example of poverty. We can study any. So with the self-directed learning and also with the guidance of our seniors or faculty members or supervisors, we discuss about various topics, various problems we are interested in, and we are interested in learning about. And how do we feel about this topic? And what kind of biases we have towards the topic? It's okay, everyone has. So we also need to work on that. Suppose if you have a victim of sexual abuse, if he or she is a researcher and is conducting a research on sexual abuse or any kind of abuse, then he or she might have prejudices, biases, or preconceived notions based on his or her own experiences. So there might be, might not be, there is a more possibility of more of subjective, more of bias, cognitive bias, assumptions, because they may relate the situation themselves and compare it and appropriately might report. So this can also happen. So that's why all these aspects are very important. The prior knowledge, prior experiences and particular topic, all this needs to be considered and worked on. And you can also do brainstorming, like what is the essential function? That is functional analysis. And what are the causes? Like causal analysis. What are the consequences? And what are the types? This how to be classified, classification. And finally, the comparison, and even many more. How is it? Is it likely or unlikely to be this or that? When we take an abuse or a sexual abuse or different kind of abuse, so we can also, or for that matter, take poverty, or for that matter, any topic. So we need to find out the potential research problems or research topics. So based on that, prepare certain research problems and draft certain statements supporting your arguments, and along with the citations from review of literature which supports your research statement or problem. And also, we also need to look at what are the various sources that we are drawing information from. Like, where did you get most of the information from? And what disciplines did you draw from? How did you conduct your research or search or review? And what kind of sources, data sources you have used, whether these are primary sources or secondary sources, and where these empirical, theoretical, or practical, or some other sources, whether these sources are credible, authentic, and whether these sources are objective or subjective, whether these sources are accurate, verifiable. All these aspects are also to be considered. So when we are looking or when we are doing review of literature, we have to be always like a good learner, always like a student, willing to learn with open mind, taking as it is quickly, having the competency and advocacy towards the research topics. And there are various databases, academic repositories, from which we can search based on our interest. Like in India, we have Shodh Ganga, Shodh Gangotri, Gangotri, and various other, like in Flipnet, we have, in that also we have various sources, and we have PubMed, and we have Lancet, and we have Roulette, and various other journals are there. And database like Google Scholar is there, where you can look up for journals. And we have Academic Search Complete, in short known as EBSCOhost. And if you are looking related to medicine, then you have PubMed is there. And if you are looking at psychology and related behavioral sciences, PsycInfo is there. And if you are looking at social work discipline, then we have social work abstracts. These are the academic databases based on the interest. Otherwise, if you want to refer to books, we have Google Scholar, also where you can refer to books or cite books. And cite books are there. And different library searches, like I said, Infinity is there, where you can access different libraries and also search various different libraries also for the information. And there are a lot of dissertations and theses, like we have mentioned. Now, in India, we have university, all the universities, all the research scholars are supposed to present their research and submit their research. Shodh Ganga and Gangotri, the ongoing research, completed research, synopsis. So you can also find there those who have completed their research, thesis work. There is a greater possibility of being uploaded there. So you can search it and also find do review based on your topics. There might be already a research that was conducted, and you can further extend research, or if it is not as per your requirements, you may go ahead by drawing certain inferences or learning from that. And we can also refer to journal articles. Of course, we need to have a very good journal. A lot of predatory journals are there. We need to be aware of that when doing citations, references. Make sure, a genuine and when we consider articles, make sure they are authentic and genuine and they are of quality. And when we consider dissertations and theses, always go by with authentic sources like Shodh Ganga, Gangotri, and various other reprised. And because they are reviewed by the dissertation committees and they have a long-standing credibility and additional resources you can find. Similarly, when you go through a thesis, of your similar interest, you can have already a lot of review of literature that has been done, which is similar to that interest or topic. That will help you a lot. That's why review of literature is very much important. And not only that, when you go through the references which the researcher has already referred to and has put in his or her research, that also will provide us a lot of resources, links, or references where we can go there and find out. So it becomes more easier, in fact, to explore more about that particular topic. And then we can further expand. Of course, these can be an additional information, resources for us. And there are, as usual, as we already mentioned, books are there. But again, to get up-to-date information, many books take time to be printed. So that's why we are using these articles, journals, and thesis to find information. So books may take some time to incorporate latest information and are also useful for theoretical and philosophical research or inquiry. And we have edited volumes also, which are considered less reputable than peer-reviewed journals, but still they are valuable information. And your search terms also determine what results you will get. While you are doing review of literature or when you are searching something on net or in libraries or wherever, may be online or offline. The search terms, what you are looking for. Even if you are looking at a library catalog or classification system, if you are trying to search for a topic or interest based on your interest, or whether you are searching online for a particular topic or a particular subject. So your search terms determine what results you are going to get. Unfortunately, different studies use different words to describe the same or similar concepts. Like in some disciplines, population is used. In some disciplines, universe is used. But more or less both represent the same. It is the entire population from which a sample is drawn for the study. So, though they may have a different literal meaning, but different disciplines might have a different word that represents or describes the same or similar concepts. Like if you take abuse itself, say in some fields it may be used as substance abuse or substance use or substance misuse or addiction or addicts or tobacco addicts, alcohol addicts or drug addicts, like that. So these all are related to addiction or substance use or abuse. So similarly, these kind of words or terms help you to retrieve the required information, and these can act as a search terms. So we have to be very careful about the search terms because it determines the results. And if you are searching online, you have these search engines like natural language search engine and Boolean search engine. And there are different kinds of search engines. Often, some people, they always come back saying, I couldn't find any information because they are altogether searching with a different search term. And sometimes we keep searching, but we get not our discipline, but some other discipline. Often we see, especially those who, these students or scholars, those who copy from the internet, when we give some assignments or something, they just Google it and, write down and come without understanding which discipline it belongs to. They just find something, just copy it and come back and submit. And when we see it is not at all relevant to our discipline, it may be related to engineering, or it may be related to life sciences, or it may be related to some social sciences or literature. So we have to be very careful, especially when unless and until you are doing a multidisciplinary research and you are very specific about that. So you should also know how to search. This is very important. It's not that you have Google or you have these databases, EBSCO and various other, but you also need to know what kind of search terms you have to use to find information. And also different search engines, like in Google, we have natural language searching, which you can just type anything in simple language, it will fetch results. But in a certain academic search engines, which are purely academic databases, you need to be very specific with the term. Otherwise, you'll end up with so many non-relevant searches or results. You can also use Boolean this thing, so that you can add and or. If you want to search for two terms, you can use and, like abuse and use, or abuse or use. Like that, you can use Boolean words or characters to search. And these operators, basically these are known as Boolean operators, and or. So these will help us to combine one or more keywords and to bring out search. Otherwise, if you want your search in a relevant discipline, what you should do? Substance use in health, substance use in medicine, substance use in psychology, substance use in engineering, substance use in geography, substance use in chemistry. If you want to still narrow down, you can be more specific. So in similar way, you can filter out the results which are not relevant to your discipline. So knowing how to search is also very important. Where to search, how to search, what to search is also important. So we need to have search skills. We need to equip ourselves with searching skills. Brainstorm some keywords before, once you have come up with certain research problem, you find out what could be the possible keywords or their search terms, so that we can build a query. And how would you use and or not, like these Boolean operators we have discussed. And you can also use quotation marks, parentheses, wildcards, and various other search operators within search. And also look for which database is best for you. Like we have mentioned, few databases. There are many huge. If we start explaining and giving references, it itself will take one session. Maybe if time permits, we'll also look at various databases based on the discipline. In which discipline, there are some reputed databases, authentic academic databases, based on the disciplines also. So if you belong to engineering or information technology or social sciences, life sciences, medical sciences, or physical sciences, biological sciences, or natural sciences. So we have different dedicated database where you can search in that database. So we need to also choose which is the best database based on your discipline, based on your topic, and accordingly make the search so that you get relevant information. And as you know, whenever you search, you get too many results. You'll be bombarded with so many results. Now, how do you refine your search so that you can narrow down? Say, suppose, now, if it is a very popular topic, you will get huge number of results. Now, how do you narrow down? And these results may contain, over a period of time, longitudinal studies. That is, studies conducted over a period of time. So it may be since 19th century, 18th century till now. So you can narrow down by month, year, date, or by subject, or by topic, by author, or based on our requirements, we can narrow down. Or there are different options like Google Scholar. You can do advanced search just in the title, just in the abstract, or just in a particular section. And you can also narrow down by year, as already mentioned. So these options will help to minimize the results and narrow down with more specific results. And we have academic databases and academic search like PsycInfo, PubMed. In that also we'll have different options when there are too many results based on the topic, like search in abstract, narrow down by year, or search for a specific author or a journal, through which we can limit the number of results and also narrow down based on these criteria. We may have more criteria, but due to time constraints, we are not discussing. And we can also play around, experiment, trying to find out various articles, journals, publications on your topic. On various databases already mentioned, we mentioned Google Scholar, we mentioned Academic Search Complete, mentioned PubMed, PsycInfo, and various other databases are there. So which database do you think will be most useful to you based on your discipline? You have to select appropriate. You can also try searching in other disciplines as well. That can also give you, interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary or multidisciplinary approach or understanding, so that it will help you to expand your research or to present a holistic perspective of the selected topic or research. And there are also awards given for highest number of search results, lowest number of search results like ratings or stars, or highest number of relevant results, or correctly labeled empirical, theoretical, and practical articles, or identifying authors that appear often. They also get their bonus points on their CVs. And identifying journals that appear often, and most useful keywords used, and most useful operators used. These are various things where you can use these to play around to find your relevant search topics. And you can also do archival searching using references and cited by. Say, suppose if you want to search in Google Scholar, go to Google Scholar, look at the cited by link, and then open it. If you want to preserve the present search, you can select open it in a new tab so that it will open in a new tab. Or if you want it all together in a new window, you can also select open it in a new window, whichever is convenient to you, so that you can have both the windows. Otherwise, you want in the same tab or window, you can just click on it. Now you can search specifically inside the articles that cited a particular article. Or say, suppose you have already published an article in Google Scholar. Now you can search specifically inside the articles that cited your article. Someone might have already cited your article. So you can search based on articles who has cited your article in their articles. So this looks for the article after your article has been written, right? Before you have written and submitted, they cannot cite your work, right? So in this way also, we can use searching, archival searching by using references and cited by. Generally, these are quite old, where we can find popular citations and references. And when opening an article, look at the references, copy and paste them into the Google Scholar. As I was mentioning earlier also, when you are referring in Shodh Ganga, Gangotri, or any other repositories, you can find already a lot of PhD, MPhil, even PG, UG also researchers, if they upload. I mean, there is no mandate, but especially now it is only for MPhil, PhD, postdoctoral. But even if the university has opted to upload, then if they have there, you can also search for them and they will have a lot of references published in their own research. So you can take that references, copy paste in Google Scholar, and that article is there before you. Now you can go through the entire article and see if it's relevant for your research or not. So this way, already someone has simplified your work, and that's how you can, find more relevant references. And you can also search more relevant articles, which is related to your research topic. Of course, there are various other ways as well. This all comes with an experience when we start searching. And there are various other ways we can have more fun on Google Scholar. But, always my suggestion, my advice is you always be logged in whenever you do on Google platform. That will help you because Google is also continuously tracking and monitoring, right? It is also learning from our searchers what this person is searching. So there are algorithms which are making Google to learn and provide similar results. So if always, log in before using Google or any of the Google products, maybe YouTube or any Gmail, or even if you're using Google search engine, when you log in and do your search, you have your library links, even in Google Scholar also, when you log in, you can set your library links to include like famous libraries like Bradford libraries and many other libraries. Every article, not books or not even books or articles, will have a link that says find full text, right? It takes you right to the article. So whenever you find some article, there will be an option saying find full text. When you click it, the entire article will come up from the search result. That is where you can easily go to the article and find out. And as we have mentioned, there are different citations also. Like for psychology, APA citations, that's correct. And about 80% of the time, sometimes they leave out volume or issue numbers or page numbers or have all capital letters or abbreviations of the journal name. We need to be, cautious and double check these to be very precise. Otherwise, also most of the time, these APA citations are very easy. And most of the time, 80% of the time, they are correct. And save articles. when you are logged in, Google also keep tracks of the history. So you have the history. No need to remember which article I have searched, which article I have downloaded. So it will keep track of. When you look at the history, you can go which all articles you have read, which you have reviewed, and save articles also you may want to come back to. You find some article interesting, but you want to revisit it later. You can save that article. Just hit save. It saves the article to your library. There is an option, My Library, where all the saved articles are saved to My Library in my account on Google Scholar. So you can organize these in the form of folders also. If I have different research projects, I can put based on if I am working on, say, suppose substance abuse, or I'm working on sexual abuse. So I can create folders, and accordingly on each topic, I can put the relevant articles, save relevant articles to specific folder and organize in folders so that it is easy. So if I want to look at the sexual abuse, I can save similar articles in sexual abuse folder. If I would like to refer to substance abuse, then I can save these links to my substance abuse folder. It helps to organize. And of course, we are not tied to any specific research proposal or initiate, right? Initiate. So we can synthesize a large body of research and develop conclusions about an entire area of research. That's what I was mentioning about transdisciplinary, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary approach. It's not that you have to search in a purely, in your discipline. When you search in other disciplines also, it provides you a holistic understanding of the research of your topic, on your topic. So develop conclusions about an entire area of research. This will save you a lot of time. Someone has already done a lot of analytic and scholarly searching work for you. So that's where systematic reviews and meta-analysis help you, and how you might find these articles. These all will help you a lot. Think more critically about how you search. So, do I want to make search and make sure that I search for a particular phrase or a particular word or a particular search term? Are there many endings of a word that might help? Or do I want to exclude or include other search terms, keywords? Or how do we narrow down search results like we have discussed just before some time, by year, by author, or by publisher? So these are various ways to narrow down our search results. And don't keep downloading as and when you see some paper. This is a common habit, People just find some article, keep downloading. You have pile of it. Again, you can't go through everything, and again you search. This is a lot of waste of time and resources. Again, moreover, some popular or databases will charge you. It's not for free. Most of them are not free. They charge you for each view or for each download. So make sure before you download, make sure it is very much required, essential for it. And also, you can contact when you are searching. There is other way also. When you find certain articles interesting, you will always find the author information. You can just drop a mail, or if there is a provision to contact author within the same platform, because once you get registered on the platform or in the database, you'll also have an account, free account or paid account based on the features available in your account. You always have, or in some way or other, you have an option to contact author. So you can request an author to share his or her article or full paper or a book. You can make a request saying that I am doing so and so research. I would like to refer to your article. Would you be interested to share your article with me? A full paper or a book, copy of book link. You can make a request. So if the author is kind enough, willing to share, then he might send you the full paper. So in that way, you can also save some time and resources. Not every author responds positively, a word of caution, but there are some good authors also who compassionately respond and provide an access to the paper. They have that access. They can make a request or they can download, because anyway they have their paper, and they will provide you access, or they can send you their paper on the platform or through email ID or various other sources. So in this way, you can also go through. Generally, the publishers have different ways of charging. Generally, for authors, they don't charge. They only charge for the visitors, that is researchers, whenever they access. So authors have free access. They can share with others also. And they are also allowed to send their papers to the readers or researchers for free. So, in fact, many researchers also, many authors are also willing to extend support. That's why you can just give it a try. What's wrong in asking? So we can message authors and we can get the full article without paying, if they are kind enough, compassionate enough to share. So this is one other way to get around. And we have to experiment a lot, in fact, to find relevant research or relevant topics. And we need to narrow down. First, we'll see the general topic or a discipline in which this topic falls into, or the area of research of our research proposal or of our research problem. And this can be definite or indefinite or indefinite. And find peer-reviewed journal articles which are highly rated, reviewed for your research proposal or research problem. They should be on the same general topic so that it is more relevant. So this is how we need to search in different ways. Of course, there are a lot of ways to search also. We will cover it at some other time. Now we will move forward Now that we have done review of literature, and now that we know how to search, where to look for, and we have finally done our review of literature. And then we have a general idea of what we have identified the research gap. And we know that these are the gaps and how we go about it. Now, we need to make a research proposal by reading and also evaluating the literature, which we have already reviewed. Now it's time to prepare or plan the study or the research. What do you plan to study? What is your topic? What is your research problem? Why it is important? The rationale of taking them. Is it really important? Why is it important? How it is important? And what we already know, because we have done review of literature, and through this process, or even without that also, we know something about it. First, we need to look at what we know, how much we know, and how relevant it is. And then, what will your research project or a problem add to? We already know. So we know something. And what is that this new research study is going to contribute to the existing knowledge? And how you will go about gathering and analyzing your data, and from where you will collect data, how you will collect data, what data you will collect, and how you will gather, and how you will analyze your data. So basically, it is the introduction and methods of a particular section of an empirical journal or article, or a journal article, or a book, published book, or an edited chapter or book. So then, what are the different chapters or the sections of the research proposal? We might have we have to divide the entire research proposal into different chapters or different parts for easy presentation in a systematic way. We have a systematic way of presenting the research proposals. Of course, again, it varies based on the purpose, based on the discipline and various factors. There is no hard and fast rule for a research proposal to be exactly the same. Research proposals format, structure also varies. Some may include all the components, all the headings. Some may skip based on the purpose, based on the type of research. So basically, in general, we have various aspects like problem statement. That is what actually the problem, the research problem. It can be somewhere around, one or two lines or one or two paragraphs also, if required. And what problem is that your research is addressing? And we need to have this review of literature. And what we already know through the process of review of literature, and what we wants to know, what we needs to know. Already we know through review of literature, our own experiences, understanding, our own learning. And what is that we would like to know or we want to know you want to study has to be also mentioned. And then research questions like hypothesis, different kinds of hypothesis we know, null hypothesis, alternate hypothesis. So we need to formulate hypothesis so that we can evaluate our research. And it also guides us. It sets the direction of the research. Of course, it has various purposes. We'll not get into detail. And then we have design, research design, how we are going about the entire research work. And then we need to have sampling, select the sampling from the universe of population. We cannot collect data from the entire population. That can be very expensive, time consuming, not feasible, because if we want to collect from the entire world, we have to travel the entire world and we need to reach each and everyone. So it's a very costly affair and you don't have the time also. We are time bound with limited resources, with limited funds. So we take a representation of population through various sampling methods, as simple as convenience sampling. Whoever is available, the sample, whichever is convenient for us. From convenient sampling to the popularly used random sampling, stratified sampling, to cluster and various, there are different types of samples and we need to see which is more appropriate. So based on that, we use different sampling methods, techniques, and derive some sampling using one of the methods or techniques of sampling. Then we need to address ethical issues because once the sample is identified, we need to take approval of research from ethics committee of ethics. We need to, either it may be our own internal ethics committee from the organization, within the organization, or from the university, or from the research institution, or at times, due to statutory requirements, we need to consult government or autonomous research institutions, which control the research work, research and development work in various domains in the nation or in the state. If it is required, we need to also obtain additional approvals from them, if required, especially if you are conducting research on human beings or animals that could involve certain risk or administration of certain drugs or clinical trials and various other kind of research requires. Again, we are not getting into that detail. Maybe if time permits, some other time we will discuss on it, which are the authorities available and how we need to apply and get the approval from the ethics committee. So within our colleges or universities, we have ethics committee formed. So we can get an approval if required. Not every research requires, ethical committee approval. It's always good to approach and get it cleared. And your research guide or supervisor is the right person to tell you whether you need an approval or not. Otherwise, your research guide, he or she herself can approve. If it doesn't require, a substantial research committee approval. And we also need to select measures, and based on that, we need to perform data analysis, and we need to finally arrive at interpretations and conclusions, along with the implications, limitations, and scope for further research. So basically, we can have as simple as 5 chapters. Minimum 5 chapters are required to structurally present in a very good way. We can go up to 15 chapters also. So if we say, divide entire section, research proposal, we can have like part 1, part 2, part 3. Within that, we can have chapters. So various chapters. Generally, we find 5 to 6 chapters, which are commonly. That is enough. But if your research is voluminous, and if it requires additional classification, then you can go ahead with even 15 chapters or even more also. Again, it depends. So your supervisor or guide would be the best person to suggest you. Or certain organizations, institutions, colleges might have already certain formats. So you can follow that format, whichever is there. And when you are doing research, or when research proposals are used, you need to consider all these aspects. And not only for that, why and when these research proposals are used. What is the use of preparing or having these research proposals? It may be because of your fulfillment of course, or it may be to seek funding for research, because every research needs funding, right? You need some funds, conduct a research. To seek funding for your research, you need to prepare a research proposal. And to seek approval for research also, you need a research proposal. See, generally in our research projects for UG, PG students, or in fact for MPhil or PhD students also, we submit a synopsis, right? And we get the approval before we actually go about the entire research. Similarly, so we need to take approval from the for the research at the department level, or at the college level, or the university level, or if required, at the statutory body of government, various state government or central government level. So for that approval purpose also, we need these research proposals. And also to seek other kinds of support for research also, we need this research proposal. Not only for just funds, not only for approvals for undertaking research, carrying out research, and also getting approvals from ethics committee and various other support also. Because unless and until you are doing some research, you may not be provided access to certain resources, certain infrastructure. So to get access or provisions under that program or policy, you need your research to be approved so that you can access the benefits of the research. or to conduct that research, you may need additional resources. For that also, you need research proposal. And we can also use it to focus inquiry or our research on a specific topic and apply our research. If you have a research proposal, we also know we have set the direction, goals, objectives that will help us to apply our research skills and search skills. And we also need a research proposal when we want to conduct an evaluation or when we want to establish a baseline or a threshold, or as already mentioned, for seeking funds or grants, or when submitting our utilization reports or grant reporting, or even for advocating for changes in policies and programs. The effectiveness of the program or the monitoring of the program or the outcomes of the program on the beneficiaries of the program. On various aspects of program, research can also be conducted, and we can prepare a report and send to the concerned authority, department, ministry, so that they can evaluate. So there are many other purposes where or uses why or when the research proposals are used. So, as we have seen, first step is identifying the topic and finding literature that supports our topic or research work or research study. First, find the literature and read the literature and synthesize the literature and come out with your write-up on review of literature, and conceptualize a project or a research problem. How do you feel about this topic? What you already know, and what is that you want to know? And do you have any biases, prejudices, or preconceived notions about it? What kind of literature to look for, where to look for? All these we have looked and discussed. And finding some keywords, search terms, finding similar database, and skimming through abstracts and articles, looking for authors, similar authors and journal names which have similar topics covered, and examine references as we also discussed, and search for meta-analysis and systematic reviews, so that how specific is our focus, where our focus lies, and which literature is relevant, and what literature is relevant, whether it is only within our domain or discipline, or it has a wider or interdisciplinary, having one or more disciplines based on our research study. And how we define our research problem and variables in the research problem, and what are the cause and effects of a research problem, and how we are able to associate. So read, summarize, synthesize, and note down any key facts or data that you might want if you are writing a research proposal. It can be a rough initially. Make a draft and you note down terms used, keywords and terms, and how they are used and why they are used. You can note down the keywords so that it's useful for you to search, as well as mention your own keywords or use the same keywords if it is applicable. And find out the statistical test used, like simple standard deviation or correlation or regression or ANOVA or chi-square. What are the various statistical tests used so that we'll know if it is required even in our study? And how to present the data in the form of graphical representation, like in the form of tables, properly putting, how do we put the data into tables in the form of rows and columns in a table, and along with the significant values, statistical significance, p-values, and what do you know from there? So not only just mentioning the values, you also need to provide the interpretation, whether it is significant or not significant. Significant at what level? At 0.1 level, at 0.5 level. So you can mention. And also, whether it is easily able, able to comprehend. Is easy to understand by looking at the table. Tables are used in such a way so that they are very easy to understand at the glance. Evaluating various sources. There might be outdated sources or old sources, or there may be we need to verify the sources where we are looking for, whether it is outdated or it also contains the latest information, whether it's just having the old sources or we are adding up some new sources to the pool as well. And what are the credentials of the author? And also the credentials of the publisher. And whether that is relevant to our topic. And how important that review of a particular literature, whether it is accurate, whether it is reliable, whether it is objective, and what is the scope of that source. Based on that, strength of the evidence, meta-analysis and meta-synthesis, and the kind of experiments like experiments or quasi-experiments done. The kind of studies they have done, longitudinal, latitudinal, cross-sectional, and qualitative or quantitative studies. All these aspects determine the strength of the evidence of the source. So credibility, reliability, validity of the source, authenticity of the source have to be evaluated and determined. And finally, when you are reading, you can write a conclusion, a summary of all that you have reviewed. So you can write after reviewing a couple of papers. Couple doesn't mean here one or two. You need to at least, if you want to have a very good research, at least do review of a minimum 100 or 200 papers. That will help you in acquiring, in building up a lot of knowledge on that domain. So you can read somewhere around 30, 60 or 90 papers or 100 papers. Then you will be able to write something with, along with their references, citations. So how do we write conclusions? Using research question. And we use it, conclusion, to inform the research problem or the research questions, along with literature review and the research strategy or the methodology we use, and the ways or methods of data collection, and who is the sample and universe or population, the characteristics of sample or the population or universe, and the characteristics of sample, as already mentioned, that is research responders or research participants, and if any ethical concerns that need to be addressed, like we need to obtain consent form from each participant. We have to take consent. So these are certain ethical mandates or concerns. We need to inform and take a consent from the participants before collecting the data. So based on the review of literature, you can write 1 to 2 sentences on the summary of article, and can build up that section, review of literature. So with this, we shall conclude it here, and tomorrow we will continue with this, how to write a research proposal. Hope this has been useful to all of you. You are able to enjoy, and at the same time, you are able to learn. So we request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form. Feedback form has been launched in the form of polls. You can quickly fill up the feedback form. And after filling up, if you have any queries, you can raise your hand. You can use chat box, or you can unmute yourself. Of course, this is not, so easy to understand, but at least we can have awareness of what is what. Once we start doing it, it becomes very simple, and you will have a lot of fun too in learning. So thank you everyone for joining us. See you all tomorrow. Take care. Good night. If any of you would like to talk or present on relevant topics like research proposals, you are welcome to contact us and share your willingness so that we can take your services out and utilize this platform for a wonderful opportunity. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining us. See you all tomorrow. Take care. Good night. Assuming that there are no queries, if you still have until the feedback form is open, you can ask and clarify your queries.